It's an existing problem within the city.
The gun violence that plagued Toronto throughout 2019 has claimed its first victim of the new year. Toronto saw a record number of shootings last year, and just hours into 2020, an all too familiar scene playing out once again. Two people sitting in a car that was sprayed with bullets. One of them died, the other remains in hospital. Our Angelina King is live for us at the scene tonight. And Angelina, police have just given us an update about the victim's identity.
Yes, they have. They say that 21-year-old Ahmed Yakot is the victim of the first homicide in Toronto in 2020. We do have a photo of him to show you that police just released, and officers say that he is from Toronto, just 21 years old. So it all happened just outside of this convenience store. Yakot was inside of a car when he was shot and killed. That car was parked just in front of this green fence, and there are a few bullet holes that can be seen in that fence. Now, shortly, you'll be seeing some surveillance video that shows what happened near that vehicle and the aftermath of the shooting. And some residents I spoke with here say that they are pretty shaken up after what happened last night, especially one man who was right here when it all happened.
I was shaking. I couldn't think and I couldn't help.
Constantine Polizzo saw the aftermath of the city's first homicide of the year. He says he was in this convenience store when he heard multiple shots.
I went to the car. I seen one guy with shot head in the head. The other guy, he had shot in the stomach.
Two men were shot inside this car around 10:30 last night. They were rushed to hospital. A man in his early 20s died there overnight. The other man has non-life-threatening injuries. The car, riddled with bullets, was towed away from the crime scene this morning, revealing more bullet holes in the fence behind it. One resident says she heard at least 8 shots.
Just a bang, 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 bang. Well, you know what? We're so used to the bangs around here, it wasn't really hard on us. Or some of us anyway, when you're used to it.
And now police are looking through all of the surveillance video that was captured in the area. This one behind me showing as police and paramedics arrive after the two men were shot. Minutes before, the video shows one car pulling up. As a man walks toward the store, another car arrives, then moves closer to the first car. Less than a minute later, the man runs to the cars outside, then back toward the store. Polizos is seen outside. He says the man in the video was with the two victims.
He said, call an ambulance. Oh my God, call an ambulance. The police came. They went here, there, right? I told them to come over here. The guy is in the car shot in the head.
Police don't know how many suspects are involved, but say
we do have a suspect vehicle, which is a small, dark-colored sedan.
This community hub says its clients are worried.
It makes them feel unsafe in their homes.
He says gun violence isn't a quick fix, but wants more done for young people.
From a really young age, all the way through, from the age of 4 till they're into their early 20s. Give them opportunities to join programs, volunteer, and then job opportunities is the way to do it. So some people at that hub and some longtime residents here say they've actually seen a decrease in crime here in the last few years, especially after the Regent Park revitalization really took off. But they say after last night, they're not feeling too optimistic and hope they don't see more of this in 2020. Shannon?
Thanks, Angelina. Well, meanwhile, police have identified Toronto's last murder victim of 2019. 43-year-old Clinton Phil Williams was shot after walking into an underground parking lot near Nielsen and Finch on New Year's Eve. Investigators say a suspect, a man, left the scene in a light-colored car driving towards Crow Trail. Williams was the 77th murder victim of last year. That's a drop from 96 the year before. 2018, you'll remember, saw both the Yonge Street van attack and Danforth shooting tragedies. In 2019, 63 of the 77 murder victims were men, and more than half of Toronto homicide victims last year were shot. 15 were stabbed to death. Police are investigating the suspicious death of a man found near Woodbine Beach. His body was found late last night. Police were called to the scene near the Somerville pool around 10:45. A pedestrian reportedly made the grisly discovery. Investigators are working to confirm the person's identity. So far, the only thing police are saying is the victim is Asian. It was minutes before midnight on New Year's Eve when shots rang out on a residential street in Brampton, killing a 17-year-old boy. It happened during a house party on Alderbury Crescent near Steeles and Bramalede Road. Police arrived to find the teen Jordan Henry. He died on scene shortly after. Neighbors saw 30 to 50 teens running away from the house. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. The local city councillor said the house was a rental, but has never had problems before.
There was never a complaint on this house. We have some complaints on the next street over. There is a lot of rentals around here. A lot of people are buying them. They got 2 or 3 families, or they have these group homes, and unfortunately we cannot go knock on every door.
Henry was a grade 12 student at St. Marguerite de Youville Catholic Secondary School in Brampton. He played on the school's football team. In a tweet, the team called Henry a quiet young man who was well respected by his coaches for the strong work ethic he brought to the field every day. The shooting is Brampton's 31st and final homicide of 2019. And more tragedy on New Year's Eve. A man is dead and another has been charged with impaired driving after a crash near Elgin Mills and 9th Line in Markham just after 7 on Tuesday. Investigators say an officer noted a Hyundai Veloster drive past and decided to follow it. A short time later, it crashed into another car, killing the 68-year-old driver. 40-year-old Stanley Choi from Stouffville is now facing multiple charges, including impaired driving causing death. This comes after police have been warning drivers for weeks against driving under the influence.
We were all over social media with posts about the dangers of impaired driving, not to drive while impaired this New Year's Eve or any day. And it was, just after 7 o'clock in the evening that the first tragedy struck in York Region.
What happened in the lead up to the accident remains unclear. The Special Investigations Unit is now looking into the matter. They investigate deaths involving police.
With the new year, there's new bylaws for vehicle for hires like taxis and Ubers. But will the changes actually make a difference in your safety? I'm City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly, and I'll have that story coming up.
There is a new record for tomorrow's Lotto Max draw, $70 million. There are also 10 $1 million giveaways, bringing the total payout to $80 million. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? And I'd say
wow.
One of the first things would maybe be a hot vacation, but it hasn't been too bad here,
Nick, has it? Too bad. No. That being said, I haven't bought a lottery ticket in a while.
Maybe now's the time.
Maybe now's the time. Because
Yes.
you know what? Even 6-7 degrees is pretty good, but 30 degrees is a little bit better. Okay, we'll get to that. Listen, we're going to enjoy what we have. We had 6 degrees. That was our temperature today, and we're basically sitting there right now. Temperatures are falling, though, not for tomorrow, but into the weekend. We've actually got some snow to talk about as well. And you know what? I'm kidding with the warm weather. I actually do like the snowfall. If we're going to be into winter, we might as well enjoy all that winter has to offer, including a little bit of snow. 6 degrees right now in the city of Toronto, and that has been our daytime high, so we've basically just sort of held steady. We did see some sunny breaks earlier today. However, cloud cover moving in for tonight, and that's going to help insulate temperatures. There's a system that's pushing up from the south, and this one over here should stay far enough to the south to keep us dry for tomorrow. That being said, a few spotty showers not totally out of the question for tomorrow. Otherwise, just some cloud cover for tomorrow morning and into the afternoon as well. Pretty good looking forecast in terms of temperatures up to 7 degrees. They are dropping, though, as I mentioned, for the weekend, and it will come with some snow. We'll have full details in a bit.
A little of everything. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
The new year means new bylaws for taxis and rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft. The sweeping changes are meant to beef up safety, but as City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly shows us, not everyone feels the regulations go far enough.
On any given day, thousands of vehicles for hire are crisscrossing the city. Those drivers now face tougher bylaws, which mandate having at least 3 years of driving experience and completing city-approved training.
What does it matter is because a lot of people are taking these services and we want to make sure they're doing it safely.
Drivers are also now required to attach notices to their cars encouraging riders to watch out for cyclists, and they need to securely mount their phones. It's a shift that follows this deadly crash in March 2018. While driving 2 passengers to Pearson Airport, an Uber driver pulled over onto the shoulder of the gardener to pick up his cell phone, and his car was hit by a vehicle driving at full speed. One of the passengers, 28-year-old Nicholas Cameron, was killed. Cameron's death sparked public outcry, with thousands calling on the city to bring back driver training. It was scrapped in 2016 for both taxis and ride-sharing vehicles, a move many say lowered the bar for all vehicle for hires.
We're going back in time, and in fact, it's in complete conflict with what everyone is saying they want to see in the city.
The operations manager for one of Toronto's leading taxi companies says she's maintained driver training programs for years. Now she's questioning how the city will enforce and implement its latest approach.
This bylaw took effect yesterday. There are still so many unanswered questions. What is that training going to look like? We're hearing from staff that they don't know who will even offer it or what that training is going to require.
City officials say they are working on a training program, but it won't be finalized until the summer.
This is going to take some time to roll out for everyone to get the necessary training, but you will have to have it by June 1st.
That's for anyone renewing or getting a new license. And in the meantime,
we have a dedicated enforcement team that does vehicle for hire, again, across all streams, be it taxi, limousine, or vehicle for hire. People can call 311, people can register a complaint, and we will be out there enforcing.
Both Uber and Lyft tell us they'll be working to comply with the new requirements this year. And it could take even longer before riders can tell if the changes really work. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Marilyn Lastman, the wife of former Toronto and North York Mayor Mel Lastman, has died. The 84-year-old was well known for her work at a number of local charities. In a statement today, Mayor Tory issued his condolences on behalf of the city, recognizing Lastman's devotion to her husband and family. She was treated for cancer back in 2000, and it was after she'd recovered that Mel Lastman talked to reporters about their relationship, describing how they began dating when they were just teens.
She was 13 and I was 16, and her father wouldn't let me take her out until she was 14, and that was only a couple of weeks later. And we got married 4 years later, and we've been married now for over 46 years. When I got sick in '89, when I was in a hospital, and they couldn't throw her out, they couldn't get rid of her. She stayed in the hospital with me. She slept. She forced them to put a cot in the room, and she nursed me. And at that time, there weren't very many nurses around, and she was just doing a super job. And she saved my life.
Mayor Lastman, how important is Marilyn's support in you doing your job?
Oh, I couldn't do my job without her. I really couldn't. She's my life. She's everything. You know, you have children, and you love your children, and you have grandchildren, but they have lives of their own, and they have to live their lives. And Marilyn means the world to me.
Still ahead, could artificial intelligence detect breast cancer better than a radiologist? Plus,
everything is made here in Parkdale, completely by hand, for shows literally all over the world.
You've seen the daring designs in some of your favorite films. Coming up, we'll take you to the local workshop where some of Hollywood's hottest shoes are crafted.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Could artificial intelligence be just as good as a human when it comes to detecting breast cancer? A new study says AI might be even better. Alana Petrov has more on what this could mean for patients.
Medical researchers say they were surprised and impressed at how artificial intelligence could pinpoint breast cancer. This is a skill that can take mere mortals years to learn. The study found that an artificial intelligence system was better at spotting cancer than a single doctor working alone. It wasn't perfect, but researchers said that with AI, there was a significant improvement. The study worked with dozens of doctors and researchers in the US and the UK. These individuals worked with Google Health to train an artificial intelligence system to spot breast cancer in mammograms. Let's take a look at some of the results and key figures. In this study, the AI system was used in the US, and there was a 9.4% reduction in false negatives. That means doctors missed the cancer sometimes, but with AI, they spotted cancer 9.4% more. And in the UK, the AI system led to a 2.7% reduction in false negatives. That means they spotted cancer nearly 3% more. A doctor in the US who is part of this research says the study showed how AI could help medical professionals.
Unfortunately, like most diagnostic tests, are not perfect and can't always catch the cancer. In fact, according to the American Cancer Society, up to 1 in 5 women can have their cancer missed on a mammogram. Using these tools allows clinicians to have significantly more free time to concentrate on what we all went to medical school for, which is to actually take care of patients.
Doctors are hoping a new diagnosis system which incorporates AI could mean more accurate results and shorter waiting times for patients to get their diagnoses. Alana Petrov, CBC News, London.
Most parents with little ones try to steer clear of foods filled with added sugars, but researchers say babies as young as 6 months are still eating them. Health reporter Christine Burek has more on which foods are the worst and how to avoid them.
Hi, guys. Hi. Do you want a little bit? Hey, come on.
11-month-old twins Sam and Jake here are pretty good eaters. So is their big sister Noelle. They all need small bites of nutritious food. What they don't need is someone adding sugar to sweeten that food. But researchers say it's happening.
So sometimes it can sneak into foods that we don't always expect to see it in.
A recent study found nearly 2/3 of infants and almost all toddlers are eating added sugars. Problem is, early eating habits in life often shape later eating patterns. Research has shown too much added sugar is associated with cavities, asthma, obesity, high blood pressure, and cholesterol issues.
This was 18 grams in this.
And experts know, in part, what's feeding their sweet tooth.
In the last 30 or so years, we have seen a real increase in this idea that kids need their own kinds of foods, right? That there's aisles now that are, here's baby food, here's toddler food, here's transition food.
The top food sources of added sugars for infants included yogurts, baby snacks, and sweet bakery products. For toddlers, throw in fruit drinks. And it's not always easy to tell from the label. There are over 100 different names used for sugar.
We have sugar. We have sugar syrup. I think corn and barley malt extract may also be sugar.
To help shoppers, as of January 1st, American food makers now identify the amount of total and added sugars on food products. Health Canada decided against that approach. Instead, it's asking companies to list all sugars together on the label and offer a % daily value.
And the reason that's helpful is then we can say to folks, if it has less than 5% of your daily value, that's a low in sugar product. And if it has greater than 15% of the daily value, that's a product high in sugar.
Canadians will have to wait until 2022 for those new sugar labels.
Perfect.
But for parents, it's a daily struggle.
Ideally, your kids won't develop such a strong sense of urgency for eating sugar all the time, except at Halloween.
Their family strategy is to eat together and cook as many healthy meals as possible. But in a busy household like this one, sometimes a little baby snack can go a long way. Christine Burek, CBC News, Toronto.
Come on.
Rocketman, Jojo Rabbit, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Dolomite Is My Name. Those are 4 of the 5 films up for a Golden Globe this weekend for Best Movie, Musical, or Comedy. And they have one other thing in common. Shoes or boots in each of those movies came from a small workshop here in Toronto. We went to the century-old factory space in Parkdale to find out more.
Like, yeah, here are the shoes that you worked on, literally.
Did you make those ones that are in that
the
scene?
Ones with the
blue
wings?
Ones?
Yeah.
The ones, you did those? Wow.
Yeah, that was us. Yeah. This is Jitterbug Boy. It's a shop I established almost 15 years ago here in Toronto. And what we do is we make footwear exclusively for the arts. So our main clients tend to be films, TV, fair bit of circus, a little bit of theater here and there, and then, you know, the occasional opera or ballet. Everything is made here in Parkdale, completely by hand, for shows literally all over the world. Sometimes it'll be a designer with very set ideas of, okay, we want it to be exactly, you know, this, this, and this. Other designers will be much more vague, and those tend to be more of the fun projects, because it means I get to put a bit of my own thumbprint on it. It's always kind of a bit of a balance of 3 factors. The designer who wants a certain aesthetic. There's an actor who will always want to be comfortable. And then there's the technical of, we've got to have these really nice dress shoes made for this actor. And oh yeah, he's got to hang on the outside of a plane, make it work, and we need it in 3 weeks. And that's actually an actual instance. I don't even think we had 3 weeks for it though. I've been working in theater since I was a kid and done like carpentry and metalwork and, you know, lighting and sound and costumes, props, a little bit of everything. And the more I got into shoes, it's like, oh, here's the cutting element from when I was doing costumes. Here's very much a props element. Here's a bit of metalwork, a bit of woodwork, all combined into one thing. And yeah, it just kind of got me interested, and then that got the ball rolling. Almost everybody who came in here didn't have any shoemaking experience, but the one common thing with all 18 or 19 people you see kicking around in here is everyone's creative and everyone's good with their hands. I have not purchased a pair of shoes in about 14 years, so yeah, every pair of shoes that I wear have been made here. We probably do about like 50 or 60 films a year now, so it kind of becomes a little bit less. It's still kind of cool, but like I remember the first few times it was like, wow, that's us. That is what we did in this room. You know, often you get the opposite as well. You'll work really, really long hours trying to figure out something, finally get it to work, go see the film 18 months later and they don't even make it into frame, and you're going, oh man. But that, you know, that's part of the gig.
Dream project. Anything that you would just love to do that you haven't been able to?
We used to keep a list of, it was literally something we came up with, you know, at a bar one day of going, okay, here's my list of actors that I want to make shoes for someday, and listed 10 people or whatever. It's like, we've scratched all those guys off and probably gone through 3 lists since then. My absolute, probably career topper, if not my like absolute lifetime highlight, was we were working on the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. So we were just doing some of the kind of cowboy type stuff for that. And then phone rings, and it's the assistant designer from that. And she's like, we have a project we're hoping you have time for. It's really last minute, but Tom Waits was just in here, and we're hoping you have time to make a pair of boots for him. It's like, yeah. I was like, I'm a huge Tom Waits fan. The business is named after a Tom Waits song, and it's like, yeah, we can do that. And so we did it, and a year later, seeing Tom Waits in this beautiful film wearing boots that we made for him, it's like, I could literally never make another pair of shoes for the rest of my life and die content right now. And so yeah, I would say that that's probably the highlight.
This is a OHIP summary which details each one of your sort of hospital visits throughout your life. And I got mine and looked at New Year's Eve and saw what it said there, not expected to live.
He was beaten and left for dead. Now, 1 year later, he's using that pain to help others. We have more on this lawyer's incredible comeback coming up after the break. It's been just over a year since a Toronto lawyer nearly died after being viciously assaulted while out celebrating the new year. David Shelnut was walking with his girlfriend in the Queen and Bathurst area early on New Year's Day last year when two men in a passing car yelled out at her. There was an exchange between Shelnut and the men, who then jumped out of the vehicle and attacked him. He fell to the ground, was punched again, and ended up in a coma. He has now overcome incredible challenges, both physical and emotional, and now he's opened up a new law practice dedicated to helping victims of violence. I met up with him earlier today to talk about his work, his recovery, and his hopes for the new year.
I've been doing this for years, prior to my recent assault and then after as well. But I just wanted to step out on my own and sort of embrace a community-focused and people-first legal practice that I wasn't able to do in the past or have seen in other places. So just trying to get out and be in the community and help people.
Tell us about the sort of cases you'll be taking on and the sort of people you want to be helping in your new practice.
Sure. In addition to sexual assault and survivors of violence, I'll be working a lot with cyclists in the city of Toronto and around Ontario. I myself am a 365-day-a-year bike commuter. I've been hit in a bike lane and fractured my wrist, so I really want to assist my fellow two-wheeled warriors.
So how is your experience surviving what you did now shaping the way you approach these cases and deal with your clients?
Trauma and violence is deeply personal, so I kind of have I have the legal skills, but now I also have the personal experience and understanding of what it takes to walk the long road to recovery, both physical and mental health-wise. The first thing that I always ask people who walk through the door is not can you sign the retainer, but what kind of support do you have right now? Right. Are you getting medical treatment? Do you have a therapist to talk to about your individual trauma? You know, it will be different from mine. It could be far more serious, and I want to make sure people are taken care of before they take legal action if they can. It's just one step in a long road to recovery, and by no means the most important step.
Last time you talked to Dwight, you told him that you hadn't watched the security footage from that night of your assault, but you talked about how your family has seen it on television. Has your thought on that changed at all? Have you watched it?
I have gone down to where the incident happened and taken a moment, but I don't think I'm ready to watch the video yet.
How's your recovery going?
It's going great. I've had wonderful support through a GoFundMe campaign and the former Criminal Injuries Compensation Board to provide me with services and health care that I needed to get the help that I need. Still a long process, you know, many steps to take, but I'm really just super happy to be here.
Oh, it's physical though and mental, right? Like it's everything that you'd be dealing with.
Absolutely. Physical stuff, I feel at about 110%, aside from a recent bike accident. But mental, I will still see my psychotherapist for a long time to come. I think that's really important.
If there's somebody out there watching this who's maybe been a victim of violence or assaulted and they're contemplating whether to go through the legal system, you know, often it can be a frustrating thing.
Totally.
What would you want them to know?
Just know whether you, and it's difficult, but know whether you are able to take that step. Know your own recovery and where you are in that. If it's safe for you to move forward and look at legal options, it's always your own health that should be primary.
It's the new year. You've been through so much in the last year. What are you looking forward to now in 2020?
I'm looking forward to getting up and watching the sunrise each day, having my dog in my office with me, long bike rides, and I just proposed to my partner, so looking forward to that as well.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Police did arrest one man in the attack. He remains in custody, but the second suspect is still at large. In other news, with more extreme heat and wind on the way, Australian authorities are now moving some residents to safety by sea.
What we'll do is we'll offer the opportunity to get as many people out as we possibly can into a more comfortable place. However, logistically, that is quite a challenge.
The military has been brought in to help people who are stranded on the shore in one town. The plan is to move 500 people to safety using a naval ship. In other areas, residents are getting out by car, but they are getting stranded in massive traffic jams. The death toll from the fires, which has been burning for months, has now reached 17. Many believe climate change is playing a role in the crisis, but Australia's Prime Minister is downplaying any connection. Touring one hard-hit town, he got a hostile reception from some of the residents.
You're an idiot, mate. You really are.
We're never getting any votes down here, buddy.
You
only had 4 trucks to defend our town. Because our town doesn't have a lot of money, but we have hearts of gold, Mr. Prime Minister.
Well, I'm not surprised people are feeling very raw at the moment, and that's why I came today, to be here, to see it for myself, to offer what comfort I could.
Australia is one of the largest exporters of coal and natural gas in the world. The government has been accused of putting the economy ahead of the environment. The fires could get much worse this weekend with extreme heat and strong winds in the forecast. Nick is back now in extreme heat, strong winds. That's not what they want to be hearing in Australia right now.
No, and of course that combined with the dry weather and everything else, that's all fueling these fires. I mean, they see fires every year, but this year, of course, particularly bad with the combination of elements that are taking place there. So, of course, they're in our thoughts. For us here in the GTA, we talked about temperatures as well, although not extreme in that respect anyway. We hit 6 degrees today, and we're still sitting at 6 degrees in the city right now. That is about 7 degrees above the seasonal mark. Now, earlier today, some more gusty winds. This is a look at wind gusts at the moment. Areas around St. Catharines and Kitchener are still seeing gusts. Otherwise, where you don't see the numbers, it means the gusts themselves have subsided. So we're looking at winds in the neighborhood of about 15 to 20 kilometers per hour, but without the gusts. Cloud cover across the GTA right now. We're watching another system that's going to push in from the south. Doesn't look like much here, but you can kind of see the cloud cover as it moves up. This is going to bring with it generally just cloudy skies for tomorrow, but you notice the rainfall that's positioned just south of Lake Erie there. There's a chance we may see a brief spotty shower if it shifts further to the north, but by and large I expect just dry conditions and cloudy skies for tomorrow. Heading into Saturday, though, different story. Another system pushes up. This one, however, on the top side of it, bringing some snowfall throughout the day. It's been sort of shifting back and forth. We're right on the edge of it, but it could bring about 1 to 3 centimeters of snow across the GTA, more down around St. Catharines. However, like I said, with these models, we're sitting right on the edge, so this could be more of a trace to 1 centimeter event, or it could be closer to 5 centimeters. But overall, a pretty dry system. So we're not expecting a big snowfall event in any case. Overnight tonight, temperatures down to 4 degrees. That's well above the seasonal mark again. The average is -8. Winds subsiding. By tomorrow, we're looking at highs of 7 degrees. Mainly cloudy skies, although a couple hints of sunshine there are possible. And then as we move through the long-range forecast, we're looking at temperatures falling 1 degree, on and off snow showers Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. Another system we'll watch. Shannon.
Okay, a little messy. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
A new study shows that chief executives are making record amounts of money compared to the rest of us. Earlier today, by 10:09 this morning to be exact, the top CEOs already made $52,000. That's more than the average worker will make the entire year. The top 100 CEOs on the Toronto Stock Exchange are making an average $11.8 million. That's about 227 times more than the average Canadian worker. From the extremely wealthy to young people just trying to survive, on any given night, as many as 7,000 Canadian youth experience homelessness. Now, as Nicole Ireland shows us, a pilot project in York Region is offering a helping hand.
So Lloyd, you want to be a surveyor?
Until a few months ago, Lloyd thought his plans to go to college and start his career were on track. Then the grade 12 student's life was thrown into uncertainty.
We had some family issues at home, and I was given a 6-week notice to depart from my home.
Might want to take off your stuff for a second.
CBC News is withholding Lloyd's last name because homelessness carries a stigma. The Canadian-born 18-year-old grew up in Jamaica, but returned here to live with his cousin until he graduated high school. When that arrangement fell apart, Lloyd's guidance counselor told him about Night Stop.
So this is your room here. This is where you.
A program that places young people at risk of becoming homeless in spare rooms offered by volunteer families like Kirk and Amy Schuler.
I get to stay in an extra room that they have, and it's lovely.
They will always text you first thing on Monday.
The couple and their 2 kids have been Night Stop hosts for several young people. Lloyd impressed them immediately.
Very friendly, shook hands, super polite, would eat anything, not a picky eater. So it was so easy to just have him here. And we do have.
Still, for most families, the idea of welcoming a stranger into their home takes some getting used to.
Lots of questions. Is this going to be dangerous? Is this appropriate for our small family, our young family?
We do Skype calls on a regular
All
basis.
common concerns, Night Stop organizers say, concerns they address through rigorous screening of the young people they place in homes.
We're not putting kids in families that have significant mental illness or significant addictions. You know, our families that we're placing with, they're not social workers and they're not expected to be.
Since it started in York Region in 2017, Night Stop has placed 44 young people in host homes. Now there are plans to expand the program across Canada, a move applauded by experts, because when youth end up on the streets, the consequences are dire.
Their health declines, mental health declines, they experience trauma, they're more likely to be victims of crime, and often addictions are an outcome because of all of those things.
For Lloyd, knowing he has somewhere safe to spend the night has allowed him to focus on doing well in school. So well, he's already received conditional acceptance letters from 2 colleges. Nicole Ireland, CBC News, Pefferlaw, Ontario.
I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, one of the teachers told the class that if they misbehaved, God would make them like me. You know, like as if it was a punishment or something.
Born with cerebral palsy, no one expected him to walk, much less enter a boxing ring. Now he's ready for his next big step. How this man is beating the odds after the break. We often hear about the struggles of young people trying to find work, but experts say it's not so easy for older adults either.
Many times in my final years, selection committee members would say to me, Cliff, can I speak to you for a second? I'd say, sure, what would you like? Don't bring us anybody over 50. a huge ageism problem in the corporate world.
To help fight ageism, Cliff Randall started a painting business called Senior Touch, aimed at employing people aged 50 to 70. Besides giving older workers extra cash flow, he says many just don't want to retire yet.
You don't necessarily want to retire and downsize and move to an apartment and shut down and, you know, do crossword puzzles and watch Oprah. You know, you want to still be out doing something, and you want to make some money and feel good at the end of the day as well.
The company has locations in Uxbridge, Aurora, Newmarket, and Stouffville. Boxing is one of the most demanding sports. Going toe-to-toe with an opponent takes training and conditioning, not just physically, but mentally. Philip Lee Shannock introduces us to a contender who overcame those kinds of hurdles even before he decided to step into the ring.
That's good.
He's preparing for his first licensed amateur bout. His trainer and sparring partner put him through the paces.
3.
But seemingly insurmountable challenges are not new for this fighter. Zeus Sequeira was born with quadriplegic cerebral palsy.
I think I've always sort of had that fighting mindset, or like the mindset of a fighter.
He didn't sit up until he was 3 years old. Doctors said he wouldn't be able to stand and would walk with difficulty. Growing up, he was always reminded that he was different.
I remember when I was in the 3rd grade, one of the teachers told the class that if they misbehaved, God would make them like me. You know, like as if it was a punishment or something.
But now he's not only standing, but hitting and getting hit.
It felt like a huge victory because I had an initial diagnosis in '88 saying that, you know, I wouldn't be able to stand and I wouldn't have any mobility below the neck, and then now I'm licensed to fight, you know.
Extensive surgery when he was a teen and his tenacity helped to get him where he is now. At 31, he's cleared to fight in just a few months. His trainer says he deserves his shot.
He's a fighter. He's a fighter inside, and when you have this courage and you're willing to give so much, the results are there.
The owner of the club he trains at says he's an example to anyone who wants to lace up the gloves and go a few rounds.
He has something to fight for, so, you know, I think only good can come from that, and it can inspire a lot of people as well.
Zeus says he gets nervous every time he steps into the ring, but that's nothing compared to the courage it took to step into a boxing club for the first time. His message, just take that first step.
You know, if you have a vision for yourself, make a beginning, no matter how small it is.
And he'll be fighting so others can too. He's hoping to raise $10,000 for Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
If you're a fan of the stars and space, 2020 will be a great year. After the break, more on what to keep an eye to the skies for as early as tomorrow. India is hoping the old adage, third time's a charm, will ring true for their space program. The country has announced it will attempt a third mission to the moon just months after an effort ended with a crash landing. If successful, India would become the fourth country after the US, Russia, and China to make a successful lunar landing. Stargazers have a lot to look forward to this year. Joining me now is our senior science reporter, Nicole Mortellaro. Tell us, what can we expect in 2020?
Well, stargazers have a lot to look forward to. We have the meteor shower that's coming up on this weekend, actually, which is going to be pretty exciting. And they're the quadranted meteors, and you can see upwards of 100 meteors per hour at its peak, and that will be early Saturday morning. But there's also the dance of the planets. Mars and Jupiter and Saturn will be moving around in the sky over the spring, well, starting from the spring to the summer, and it'll be evening planets, and stargazers can go out and take a look.
Very cool. And what about missions this year?
Yes, we have a mission to the sun that's launching February 5th. It'll be studying space weather that is highly influential for us here at home, even though we may not realize it. And as well, we have a mission to Mars, yet another one. But this one's really exciting because this one will be looking for past signs of life, and there has never been a mission like that before. And it will also be collecting samples from Mars.
Very cool. So you know we're going to rely on you to tell us all about it as it comes up.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
For more on what to expect this year, you can check out Nicole's article online. Just head to cbc.ca, cbcnews.ca. For years, students from various schools have been competing against one another in all kinds of team sports. Well, now there's a new addition to that lineup, one that requires no travel at all. Cameron McIntosh explains.
No, they haven't cracked the computer lab's firewall.
They're running here. We can't take the strike in time.
These kids are gaming at school for Winnipeg's Kelvin High School.
Go in him, go in.
They're on the esports team, competitive gaming.
Your whole goal is just to get to the enemy team and pretty much just destroy their base.
Team captain Colby Atienza is explaining League of Legends, a head-to-head fantasy combat game between two teams of 5 players. They're playing another school online.
Let's do this.
Taras Fadus is shot caller. He strategizes and coordinates the team's moves. They're taking it seriously.
Where's their bot? As a team, we get together, we have a blast. It's same thing as getting together with some friends to play hockey or soccer.
While most schools try to keep video games out, Kelvin and a half dozen other schools in Manitoba have formed a league. The computer labs already exist, the game is free, and because it's all played online, the kids don't have to bus anywhere.
Really, it's the same type of team building environment as you would see with athletics or even like chess or debate or something like that. It's a lot easier to sell it that way.
That's your lane.
High schools getting into the growing world of esports, which already has professional leagues. Some U.S. colleges are even offering full scholarships.
We are the first academy in Canada kind of focused on gaming.
In Vancouver, Adamus Esports is trying to develop top-level gamers.
There's more and more opportunities for young kids to pursue a career as a professional gamer.
I didn't control the game. I made so many poor decisions. I completely take all the blame.
This time for Kelvin, it's a tough loss. The plan? Double down on their practice time.
I want everyone to start playing 3 games a day.
Game on. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Rank teaches you guys more than draft by law.
Has the cooler weather got you craving some warm food tonight? After the break, we'll take you to a Mississauga restaurant for some Chinese noodle rolls. Stay with us. We're back in just a few minutes.
What defines a city? It's the people. Torontonians are diverse, friendly, fanatical, and adventurous. We are the mirror to this amazing, shining city on the lake.
Our Toronto is your Toronto.
Welcome to your Toronto newsroom. Good evening. I'm Mike Wise.
A restaurant in Mississauga aims to take a staple in Chinese cuisine back to its roots. It's this week's pick by Metro Morning food guide Suresh Das. He samples their specialty, rice noodle rolls. Take a look.
Chang fan is just like a Chinese hamburger. We don't use bun, we use the rice roll. How we cook it is we use the rice flour, we splash onto the steamer. And that's like the bun of a burger. And then we just put all the meat, put all the other ingredients, and then we steam it for a minute, 30 seconds, or we just scrape out the rice roll from the rice roll cloth, and then we just wrap it in a roll. And that's what we call a rice roll. Originally, it's from the Guangdong province, and it has been over 100 years of history, and mostly people would eat it for breakfast. If it's my first time, I would actually suggest the shrimp and beef, because shrimp and beef are the most popular meat and seafood. We have to train them probably a little bit over 3 months of time. For this one, the margin error is so high that you need at least 3 months for people that have the heart and potential.
Perfect food for this kind of weather. Well, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Mike Wise has your next local news tonight at 11. And of course, we'll see you back here tomorrow at 6. We hope you have a great night, everyone.